Here we go.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. I am so excited about today's guest. This has been a long time in the making, for sure. So, Ervin, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Sure. So, Ervin Stutzman here with Summit Portable Buildings, owner. And I have worked with Summit Portable Buildings since 2016 when we started. And started in with a partner, and up to the last, well, I guess a year ago, my partner that had been with me moved on to another project, and so he asked if I would be interested in buying his portion out to where he could move ahead with something else. And so that's what we did. Still great friends, and kind of miss him, but didn't want to keep him from moving on to something else that he enjoys better.
No, that's great. That's great.
It's been great. It's been great. We enjoy what we do, and I've been looking forward to this podcast.
Well, I can identify with you in more ways than one, but where me and you really met, and gosh, I hold you in such high regard for me personally, because I always felt like you were one of the guys that gave me my first shot. You were one of the guys that you'd been selling sheds for a long time, right?
Yep.
You used to sell here in Farmington.
I used to sell for A1 Portable Buildings here locally, and still good friends with them as well. And so I guess starting in 2011 is really where I got started.
Okay.
I think it was about April 2011 is when I got started selling sheds. And so that's really where I got started in sheds, period.
Yeah.
I really didn't have anything to do with the shed world till that point. I had a lot of cousins, uncles, friends that were involved in the shed business before I was ever involved.
Well, before even Farmington, you actually grew up some in Mayfield.
That's where I was born at.
Okay.
I was actually born in Mayfield in 84.
Okay.
So Mayfield is kind of a landmark for me because I've had family there for years. And then, as you know, a little over a year ago, that tornado went through there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of history in Mayfield for me.
Well, I mean, I think about Westbrook Road, Dirksen, is one of their plants there. There's so much around Mayfield that's involved in the shed industry, but even your uncle, Emery, owned the old Dirksen shop there for a long time. And then eventually Jason, I think, bought that from him, but through those hands, it held history that was really cool.
There's a lot of roots that go back.
A lot of roots in the shed industry that go back to Westbrook, I would say.
I knew a lot of people that live there. Of course, there's a lot of people that moved out since then, but I still know a lot of people that live there. Have a lot of good friends in the area yet. And, it almost seems like for me that it seems like the shed industry started from there, but I would say a big part of it did, but there was also other areas possibly that, in the east, like Pennsylvania, places like that. But
for sure.
For me, growing up, that's where I always thought it started at. Yeah. But going back further than that, it actually kind of started in Paris, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Kind of transferred to there.
Yeah.
And then grew up.
Well, that's even where Emery.
Yeah, Emery used to live in Paris, Tennessee. So did my dad. That's where my dad grew up, in Paris, Tennessee.
Yeah. It's interesting because so much of the shed history that I find very interesting, a lot of it I've learned from you and through conversations. And you moved out of Mayfield and but then you went on to, I think you were doing teaching, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a fast jump there. But basically, to give a little bit of history there, so I was born in Mayfield, and I started school there, and I think it was 7. The church there started an outreach to Southern Illinois, so we moved up there.
Okay.
And so about 10 years of my life was spent in Southern Illinois. And I went through school all my years there. And then from there was an outreach group to Arkansas. My family moved to there, lived there for a few years, and then I ended up going to Northern Missouri and taught a local private school for one term. So I never really considered myself a teacher, but I started dating during that time, so my interest kind of gravitated to another direction, and that's where that came to an end. So,
what did you teach?
I actually taught grades 6, 7, and 8.
Okay.
I had 14 students at that time.
Okay.
And that same year, my now wife taught school as well.
Awesome.
In Kentucky, back where she lived in East Central Kentucky.
Okay.
And she also had 14 students, but she had, I think, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I think.
Are you a shed manufacturer, dealer, or hauler looking for a trusted resource to build or upgrade your website? Do you need a simple business website or a more robust and dynamic e-commerce site? Are you looking for an affordable option with digital marketing solutions for your small business? Are you looking for paid ads using Google search engines or social media platforms to reach a new audience? If you answered yes to any of these questions, it's time to check out Troyer Websites of Texas. Did you know that 46% of the 5.6 billion searches made each day are for local businesses? At Troyer's, our SEO strategies will help you get on the first page of search results for your shed business. At Troyer Websites of Texas, you will be sure to get 5-star customer service with proficiency and skill. Troyer Websites just launched their managed digital services to incorporate all your marketing needs into a single dashboard. Here at the Shed Geek Podcast, we trusted the team at Troyer Websites of Texas to develop our website, and we couldn't be happier with the results. To know more or schedule a discovery call, simply contact the Shed Geek at 618-309-3648 or email info@shedgeek.com.
My wife and your wife have similar names. Yours is
right.
Deanne.
Right.
And mine's Deanna.
Right.
And that was something that we talked about early on. So the story for me and Ervin kind of goes here. I was selling sheds and contacted Ervin. He sold many different styles of sheds at the time, which I thought was really cool. You sold, smart-sided sheds, LP, vinyl, metal. You were kind of, and you had like sort of an economy style. You had a more robust, shed line. And I just remember calling you and really getting started. And you kind of gave me my start, and we saw lots of early success.
It's kind of interesting how we connected anyway, because that first connection was a cold call from you.
Well, I've never been ashamed or bashful or scared to just call somebody up and say, hey, this is who I am, and I'd like to know more about you.
That's what fascinated me back when you called me, because you had no clue who you were calling.
No. How did it come?
This is where it come to now.
It came across really good. Turned into an opportunity to sell sheds for your company, be a sales manager for your company, and open lots and gain friends and learn. And I had been in purchasing prior to that, several years.
You knew a little bit about the shed world up to that point.
But it really opened up for me whenever I think I hit I don't know, it's just a perfect moment where I was hungry and the opportunity was there and just did great, man. I really loved it and got to meet so many more people through that and those connections. And I've just always held you in such high regard for taking a chance on a guy like me to say, let's see what you got. And I was really happy with some of the early success that we saw. It was great.
We enjoyed it.
It was fun.
I've loved staying in contact with you ever since you've moved on to something else, and I love what you're doing with this. And it's fascinating to me to see where this thing has gone to the last year or so.
I just, God's good, I mean, that's what it boils down to is, I have to give God the credit because I didn't know what space I would be in, and maybe sales was it, maybe construction was it, maybe hauling was it, but the Lord really opened up this opportunity through a heartbreak of our family going through and battling, cancer, my wife's cancer, and she's come out of that victorious and strong, and hair's getting long again and a little sassy, so
no,
she has to put up with me, so she's got to be. But it's just been a whirlwind. Those 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years anyway. Now it's been 3, I think, since October of 18. She's done great, but she's come through. But we did a event for you once. We did like a sales event for the company and trophy giveaways and all that. Man, that
was fun.
I had a blast. We had so much fun doing that. I can't say enough good things about it. It's just been, you have been, and I'll say that on air, you have been an inspiration to me and your kindness has spoken in more ways than I could ever imagine. Just your true nature of who you are and your kindness and your willingness to always do more for your fellow man. I have been inspired through that in my own walk and my own journey to try and do better. Not to match you, but to mimic some of what I've seen in you.
Give the good Lord credit for that. That's something you got to remember, that if you do try to do things that points people towards the Lord, and that's sometimes challenge to be a witness the way you should be.
Yeah. Well, and you continue to do that, and that means a lot to me. I love your whole business here. Summit Portable Buildings just has a special place in my heart. I've got like a couple little plaques and things that I keep in my shed office.
Gave me
a
couple of them myself. So.
Yeah, I
still got those.
Well, it really does mean a lot to me. I always think of you as, I don't know, like everybody's got kind of that mentor, if you will, or that person in their life that just kind of, you took a chance on me. Right. And that meant a lot.
Hello from the Shed Geek. Let's take a walk through My Shed 3D. With My Shed 3D, your company can simply add a 3D builder button to its website. Once the customer clicks onto the 3D builder button, they will enter some basic information to get started. Remember, this information is captured in your Leads tab, whether or not the customer designs a building. This is very valuable information that turns a cold call into a warm lead. Next, they begin the design of their shed by selecting a primary use, a style, and a size that best fits their need. My Shed 3D has multiple styles that are available and consistent with traditional and barn styles within the shed industry. However, if you offer a customized or non-traditional style, My Shed Solutions can build that design for future use. We can also save on some design features that make it easy to adjust without a major rebuild or added fees for design changes. For instance, want to offer a steeper roof pitch? Just navigate to the Settings tab. Then click the Building Models. Click Edit Building and just enter the new roof center height, and the design changes will reflect on this style option. This will save you thousands versus traditional design changes that need to build a whole new style to match your design. From here, simply choose the style, siding, and color. Then choose a trim and roofing style and color. Next, let's add a door. That was goofy. Next, let's add a door. It is required to add a door to move forward with the design, as at least one ingress-egress option is necessary. Then add some design changes for personalization. Maybe some windows, or a porch, or some interior shelving. Next, just click Save Design and the customer will receive an automated text with all the features of the design to the email address entered at the beginning. From here, they can edit the design, view the details of the design, pay now to order the shed, or click Rent to Own to complete the necessary steps to purchase a shed they designed with My Shed 3D. The design enters the admin panel as a quote, and this is where the manufacturer can update the progress of the design once a deposit is taken. My Shed, from design to delivery, we have you covered.
I don't regret that at all. I enjoyed working with you, and I would still enjoy working with you, but I love to see that you wanted to continue climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
And I never dreamt that you would get to the place where you're at, but I am excited to see where you've come to.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I struggled for so many years with career. Mm-hmm. I was just saying that recently. I was on a episode of a different podcast with Randy Chaffee. He had me on, and he does some post frame stuff and things. And we've been talking about kind of entering that market a little bit to just expand a little bit. But,
sure.
I told him, I said, career evaded me for years. I had my family, but I never had a career that I was satisfied with or happy with. And this has probably been where I've been the happiest as far as landing. I loved my time doing faith-based drug and alcohol ministry. Yeah. That was a year of my life that, trust me, you did it for the outcome. You didn't do it for the income.
Right.
It was tough to get by. I think I was making $400 a week, maybe, or something. I don't remember, but you're and raising a family, and it's a challenging time whenever but it was great. But I love this because I love people. I love history. I love the shed history. I love getting to know people, talking to folks. Summit Portable Buildings. Gosh, you're growing. You're just doing so many different things. You're always looking for opportunities to expand. What's some of the cool things that you would say since 2011, whenever you started selling sheds, you've noticed has been just a little bit different? What's some of the areas as you think about you're as an owner now, and you got this cool new office, which is awesome.
Just moved over, first part of this week. So we're really excited about that. As far as changes since 2011, I've seen a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Almost don't know where to start with that. But anyway, if you think about changes, there's so much that I learned, and I'm still learning, and I don't feel like I've got the answers to everything in life as far as the shed life or shed business or whatever. As an owner, I feel sometimes inadequate as far as to share what I feel like is wisdom. I always look at it this way. I'm still learning, so I look at other guys that's been in business a lot longer and look at what they're doing, ask advice, see what they're doing. So you're kind of asking the wrong person for some of that information.
That's just your humility. So what's different from your sales process? You actually sat at a sales lot.
Yeah.
You have some sales guys that's working for you now. What do you notice that's the main difference in 2011? You coming in as a sales lot salesperson for A1 back then versus like Chris and what you're trying to do teaching these guys?
So every company is probably going to have a different vision on where they want to create their sales. For us, we started out with quite a few dealers, probably 6 to 8 dealers when we started in 2016. We actually are kind of pushing towards the idea of trying to start corporate lots. But at the same time, we're not cutting out dealerships. If we have a dealership that does well, we will support them and make it work. But back in the day, probably more so back in 2011, back then, and the big thing was, at least in the Midwest, dealerships were very, very common, and it's still very common. But it's so hard to find a dealership that is their primary source of income.
Yeah.
So a lot of them will have a main source of income, and selling sheds is like a secondary source.
Yeah.
So naturally, it's a little harder to push that. So what we have done here at our home location here for Summit, we now have a shop here, which we manufacture right here, and we have a sales office right next to the shop. This is what you see, the new office right here. And so we're really focusing on building our sales for this area, and then of course outside of this area in other sales locations. But what we want to focus on as a company is really work on training salespeople on how to handle the sales from the start to the finish. I think for myself, looking back in sales, it was so easy to try to do everything you can to capture that sale as fast as you can. But what you really need to do is just slow down and go through the processes with customers.
Yeah.
And it just leaves a more satisfied customer, and it feels like you're building a relationship with that customer to where you've got to have a long-term view or vision for sales, not a short-term. A short-term view is going to hinder you in sales, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just my little...
No, I think that's great. Me and you've been on multiple calls where we've discussed the sales process, right? Where we've discussed RTO processes and how they work and what is the best way to do it. And sometimes you think you've got it all figured out, and then the next thing you know, something surprises you. So we really, as a company, whenever I was working for you, we really like tried a little bit of everything to try and make it work. From creating the brochures, I know you remember that. Talking about what's the best way to approach a customer, and we really went through the pitfalls of the complete sales process. I felt like and tried to learn ourselves. I think you said it yourself. We were a student kind of ourselves.
Well, you actually being a dealer at that point and doing sales really did help you a lot, though.
Yeah,
and you helped our dealers a lot too. Just for our audience sake, I think you started with us in about 2017, selling sheds for us in 2017, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then you came on as a sales rep soon after that, or I'm not even sure exactly what the time frame was, but I think you worked with us as a sales manager through, was it late 2018, early 2019?
Yeah, maybe sometime in 2019.
Something like that.
I'm thinking I was doing some RTO rep work,
Right.
sort of independently.
Right.
At the
and
time.
then you moved into that full-time position,
Yep.
doing more RTO sales rep and stuff. Yeah, that would make sense. I couldn't remember for sure what the exact date.
was a lot of fun. Opened up a couple dealers,
Yep.
learned a lot from those dealerships. I remember one of my favorite moments ever was going to a dealer, and we'll leave this names aside, but was going to a dealer who had sold for 20 years.
Yeah.
And we had just a really dynamite month. And really put together some creative thought to try and do some cool things. And I remember asking the dealer, I said, I know I'm a young pup, so it's kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I said, but what do you see as a good month in shed sales? This kind of goes back to you saying they were doing this on the side.
Right.
And this particular dealer said, probably about $30,000 a month in sales. And I said, well, what would you consider a blow it out of the water month? What's an amazing month for you in shed sales that it seems impossible? It's probably a top tier salesperson. And I just remember him saying $50,000 in sheds.
Right.
He's staring down. He's like, oh no, should I? This is the man of the hour. We ought to put a microphone on this guy.
Well, he can come right up here and stick his mouth on this.
Yeah, go over here, Cameron. You're welcome to get on here and talk too, buddy. I should have brought out another mic. So for a lot of people who don't know, this is your oldest.
Yep,
Cameron.
oldest son.
And I always call him the future of shed building, because Cameron, the first time we met him, he was like, what? How old are you now?
He's 14 now. So
you might have been about 9, somewhere around in there. And he was mowing, and man, he was working that zero turn.
Yep.
Like, he knew it better than I did, and he was out there killing it. And even today, I show up and he's running, I don't know, everything around here, skid steers and fork trucks and little excavators and everything. But man, they should have put him on the cover. I'm telling you, of Shed Builder magazine. He built a shed when he was, how old were you? 13, and you built it all by yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I say this guy is the future of shed building. Absolutely.
He helps me a lot in the shop when he comes home from school.
Yeah.
He does a lot of my roofing and stuff in the shop.
He's such a good kid. He took the road trip with us to the Shed Holler Bash.
That's right.
All the way out to Utah.
That was a lot of fun too.
That was a whole lot of fun. We got to.
That was this past summer, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a long car ride. So it's me and you and Brent and Jeff.
Jeff, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I won't forget that trip right away.
No, that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, Cameron, he was the one. He's only 13, but we let him drive about half of it. So.
Just don't tell anybody.
I'll tell you what, this kid's hilarious. He got me whenever we got out to put fuel in. Because I was joking with you guys the whole time in the van.
Yeah.
And if we would have put that on a podcast, people would be dying laughing.
Yeah.
So the whole time we're just full of laughs in the van. And then I'm teasing him really hard the whole time, just giving him a hard time. And we get out, and it's Jeff's van, Jeff Huxman.
Yeah.
It's his van. And he gets out and goes in the store, and it's just me and Cameron. And he grabs the diesel pump, and he goes to act like he's getting ready to pump diesel.
He does?
Yeah. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh, no, he doesn't realize what that's going to do.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you can't do that. You can't put diesel in this. This is a gas engine. And he just looked up with a grin. He said, I know, I was just playing. He got me so off guard. I had no idea, because I thought, this is a kid. He doesn't know. And he knew exactly what he was doing. So I told him for that, I'll always be avenging my plot for revenge. But such a good kid, builds in your office. Yep. What is your office? What do you got? Or your shop?
Your shop. So
it's pretty new.
Yeah, it's pretty new. We built it in 2020. It's a 3-bay shop that's 72 wide by 102 long.
72 by
3 bays coming out the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually. It almost seems like we're outgrowing the shop. It'd be nice to have another 3 bays on the end of it. But you got to start somewhere and work your way up. You can't have everything at once. You got to work your way up.
Well, and you got like an overhang off the back where you know, are
lumber
able to
storage and
do
stuff.
some lumber
Yep,
storage.
that's correct, yeah.
You've got a nice sized lot here.
We got about, it's a small lot, but we've got 3 acres here that,
But it's
it gets a
full.
little tight sometimes.
Man, it's full up, all 3 acres.
Yeah.
You guys make good use of your room here. So I've seen other guys with 4 or 5 acres, and they're just really trying to do all they can to keep everything in. And
Are you looking for a software system to help run your entire business? Then you need to check out the Dealer Management System, brought to you by RTO National. The DMS has a point of sale center where you can complete cash, credit card, lease, or finance sales all in one place, and an inventory module where you can manage your inventory and even push it to your website. One of the coolest features is the Transportation Center. You can schedule, edit, and finalize all transportations with a calendar and a map view, and have driver-specific views with note communications, and an electronic delivery sheet with photo upload. Having all of this data in one place allows the DMS to populate data charts, consolidate reporting, and help you easily track sales trends to make faster and better decisions. The best part is that you can review and finalize in-process deals for payment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Call 833-588-1802 or click the QR code to schedule a demo today.
got your own truck. I love your truck, first of all. The old, see, whenever I first started.
Probably our favorite rig around here.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love it. If you've been on the Shed Hauler page, you've certainly seen it once or twice. Kevin Hirschberger used to
run that
used
thing.
to run it.
And if you remember, it's got purple fenders on it.
Yep.
That was actually Kevin's idea.
Yeah, and the lights and all that. I remember when he first got them.
Yep.
You know, we used to have to shut the bridge down at Cairo.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Whenever, because you would come out of Mayfield
Right.
and you'd be going into Missouri.
And we'd have you guys come over and block traffic. for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
We'd come down there to Cairo, we'd block traffic, and I remember one time we was doing that, and I don't know who it was. It's probably a Dirksen truck, maybe a Graceland
One of the
truck,
drivers, possibly.
maybe one of their drivers, and Kevin. All three showed up at the same time, and we had to shut down the Illinois entry bridge, and also had to shut down the Missouri entry bridge
something I
right
never
after.
knew about.
I wish I would have had a camera back then. We actually shut it down, and all three trucks come over at the same time,
Sweet.
and then all three trucks go over on the Missouri side.
No
It's a
kidding.
beautiful picture seeing three sheds roll
Yeah.
down there, and I don't know. It was just they all hit it at the right time. We only had to shut the bridge down,
Once.
the one time. But
Yeah.
I had a blast when we used to do all of that. I really feel like I learned so much about pilot cars. I
Yeah.
learned so much about the process. I built homes for about a year whenever I was a young guy. Didn't spend a whole lot of time in construction, but I just felt like I learned so much from Summit. I'm telling you, Cameron's the future shed building, so that's what I like to call
Yeah,
it. But
I got a couple more boys after him. We have a total of 4 boys and 2 girls. But yeah, he's our oldest, and he's in 8th grade this year. And so yeah, after he's out of school and in the shop, I think he'll make a huge difference in the shop.
Yep.
So, and I've got younger boys coming on too. So
there you go. Train them up, right?
there you go.
Know. No, I love it. Like I said, Summit's always going to mean so much to me. So, what are some different things that you're starting to see in the industry? Let's we'll navigate away from the personal, and we'll get to just sort of the business side of what we do with sheds. Where's the future of it? I mean, it's 2023 now, so things are changing. And what do you see that's changing the most? What are you thinking as a business owner, shed business owner? How are you looking? Is it bleak? Is it encouraging?
Well, if I were to ask for anything in the shed business right now, I'd probably ask for some stability in the market. For the last 2 years, the way things were with COVID and everything, and sales and everything, with what we have seen, if you want to look at real recent numbers and stuff, we've definitely seen it kind of slack off just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like, personally, this is just my personal feeling with observation and listening, reading, stuff like that, I feel like the market's going to tighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
But if we go into a recession like they're talking about, I feel like the shed industry as a whole will probably do better than some other industries.
Yeah.
Which have kind of proven in the past. And so I think that part's good. I think the part that's going to be important is to help our salespeople know how to sell. And that's where I feel like maybe our business, we've been a little weak in, but that's what we want to strengthen.
Yeah.
So I think the salespeople that really get out there and are really serious about helping create sales, those are going to be the guys that are going to be successful.
You think a good
Consider Summit Portable Buildings of Farmington and Poplar Bluff, Missouri for your storage needs.
Are you tired of having to leave the comfort of your property to gather your things from the storage unit where you pay never-ending rental fees? Would you like to rent something that leads to a path to ownership? Make your rent count with a Summit Portable Building.
With a Summit Portable Building, the process to own a building is simple. Our sales, manufacturing, and delivery staff are here to answer your questions, build, and deliver the shed you want the way you want it.
From the moment you step onto the sales lot, our sales staff will meet you with a smile, a friendly attitude, and a no-pressure sales approach. Our builders will cut no corners and take the time to build the shed the way you want it to be built, the old-fashioned way. Our delivery staff will ensure promptness and efficiency, using proven delivery processes that ensure a level building safe for your goods.
Summit Portable Buildings offers a variety of building styles, sizes, and colors made from the finest materials available. We also keep a variety of shed accessories available to order to help organize your shed. From the moment you step onto the lot to the moment we build and deliver your shed, you can count on Summit Portable Buildings to get the job done right.
Summit Portable Buildings.
Built the old-fashioned way.
I feel like I've just been sick all winter. I'm sorry, audience.
You're not the only person.
Can't seem to shake or cough. But do you think good salespeople, you think they can be taught, or do you think good salespeople are just born good salespeople?
I think they can be taught to a degree, but they're also going to have to want to be taught and get better at what they do. But I would say there are some people that are naturally more salespersons.
Yeah.
And those are the harder ones to find, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think
Harder to get along with sometimes too.
Yeah, sometimes, but then they make the most sales sometimes.
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah, it kind of depends on what trade-off you want, I guess.
No, there's some truth to that, I'm sure. But Simon Sinek would tell you that anyway. I like some of his little shorts and videos that he does. But what do you do? Do you think training? I mean, what's the best way to go about it?
So I think training is a good part of that. But then on the other hand, you could possibly have some salespeople that you can put all the training into them you want, but they're just not the right fit for the
Just
job.
no desire.
Yeah.
Yeah. I quoted it earlier, but Ziglar has a quote that says, if you don't want to learn, no one can teach you. But if you want to learn, no one can stop you.
Yeah.
Or
Sky's the
probably
limit, yeah.
paraphrasing sort of, but if there's something that you want and you're hungry and you want to go out
Exactly.
and get it, nobody's going to be able to tell you no, because who's gonna get in the way of somebody who's constantly wanting to provide help?
Right. Yeah.
And if you're trying to constantly help the customer in any way, you're going to build some kind of relationship no matter what. Leon Martin said, anything you do after the sale is good customer service.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
You're not getting paid for it after that. That's just your nature and who you are.
You may not be getting paid for it right at the moment, but it might pay off down the road.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's right. Referrals.
Yep.
And everything else. What do you have long-term plans for Summit? What do you think?
Continue growing it, making it better.
Yeah.
There's so many little things that I see that need attention. So one at a time, we want to continue to make it better. Strengthen the weak links in the business. There's so much room to grow.
There is.
Of course, probably when you look at the guts of a business, the owner's probably the person that sees it the best, the things that need attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a challenge to know where to start first and where to start working with.
What excites you about being a shed business owner?
Good question.
I should have told you I was going to ask that ahead of time, huh?
I enjoy working with people. I've always enjoyed working with people and being around people. But I will be honest, running a business is sometimes stressful.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to run away and just be alone for a while.
Yeah.
And I assume a lot of people want to do that at times. But at the same time, if you want it to be successful, the challenging thing that I find for myself that I'm finding out more and more is if you want your business to be successful, you're going to have to become a leader and pave the way. And that's probably one of the challenges that I find in my business. To be able to do that.
What do you do to lead? How do you kind of define it? What do you feel like is one of your
lead by example?
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with simply. Well, let's just say you have a issue in the shop with manufacturing.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a question how to do something as far as how to build something, how to construct something. Sometimes it means the boss or the guy in charge just needs to get in and actually spend some time and show them, physically do it with them, instead of just saying, well, just go do this and just expect it
Point
all to
and
happen.
shoot, yeah.
Yes. Sometimes you have to get right in with them to help them make it happen. And that's sometimes it takes your time away to do that, but sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah, one thing that we always talked about when we were discussing scaling your business was sometimes it's difficult because you can do a little bit of everything. You could sell, you can build, you can repair, you can deliver, and sometimes you have to wear all hats as a small.
That's where I find it challenging.
Yeah.
So, but I've got a good team, and I feel like we're heading in a good direction.
Oh, I think you got a great team.
All good things take time is always what I keep coming back to. There's so many things that I would like to get done, but it takes time to get it done, and you have to build your team up to help make all that happen. You have to get everybody on board to help make that happen. Yeah, and that all takes time. It all takes time.
No, I enjoyed it, man. I remember even excuse me, some of the dealers that we opened still continue in friendship with them. We still continue to talk.
Exactly.
We went and had dinner today, and I was asking you about a couple. And asking you, do you still see them? Do you talk to those guys? Sure. I hadn't talked to them in a while, and we're a little ways apart. You're about 2.5 hours from us, so it's a little bit of a drive to get over here sometimes. But man, I used to spend a lot of time in Farmington over here hanging out with you, and just your home was here. Now, next thing you know, your shop's here, your sales office is here. You guys have moved. You've grown.
That's interesting to think about the place where this business is at.
Yeah.
And I have to give my uncle credit where credit's due, but he actually was one of my uncles was the one that helped me purchase the property initially when we moved here on this property in 2011. He bought the property for me till I was able to actually purchase it from him. But my original vision for this property is maybe at some point have a business on this location.
Yeah.
But I never dreamt that this would happen.
Right.
But so we lived in a mobile home on this property for, I would say, from 2011 to 2019.
Yeah.
But we actually started sales here in 2017, and then we bought another piece of property 2 miles from here and built a house, and that's where we moved to in 2019, and then we moved off our mobile home, expanded the sales side here, and then right after that, we built a shop here. And so that's where it's at. It's crazy to think
all that in such a short amount of time. Yeah.
To where this would actually be at. I never dreamt that we would have all this set up.
It's funny, me and you was talking, and I remember coming out of basic training, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in 1998, and I remember I got a job in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and part of that was driving to different pharmacies, and I would drive down Highway 32 here.
Yep, right past this
place in 1998, all those years before you would even be here, going up into Hillsboro and DeSoto and places we've had dealerships and things like that. And who would know that the Lord would turn that around, and I would be back over here all those years later. And now my son's looking to go to school in Cape Girardeau. It's such a cool thing. When I'm with you, I know this is going to sound weird, but whenever I come over and hang out with you, I feel more like I'm hanging out with friends and family instead of just shed business. Me and you don't always discuss shed business. That's why it might be hard to discuss just shed things, because we've honestly connected after all those years and Nelson was such a great, great part of.
I need to give him a shout out because he was the partner that I was involved with. He's actually a cousin of mine.
Yeah,
we're both the same age, and we did a lot of things together growing up, and we actually talked about doing stuff together at one point. And so the shed business that we started was actually another business that came up for sale. We bought the asset and started Summit Portable Buildings in 2016. So that's where that started, and I have to give credit where credit's due. Nelson was the one that made it possible financially to make this happen.
Yeah.
Without him, I would not be where I'm at today.
Yeah,
he made the difference for this to happen.
Really awesome guy. I remember meeting him for the first time, and that was great. I just remember you could tell that you guys were buddies and got along really good. And it was great.
Actually, he's moved on to roll forming metal now with 2 other partners of his.
Nice.
And they're just getting started. So
okay,
I'm excited for them.
Might have to talk to him about that. We've been talking about doing a couple of shows surrounding that. So
great.
Definitely want to try and do some of that. And really, I'd love to talk with Emery again. He called me not too long ago, and I always enjoyed talking to Emery. He's such an awesome guy. For those that don't know, Emery was one of the first builders. He come from Paris, and he lived there in Mayfield. He was one of the first builders for Dirksen.
Yes,
I think.
He started building for
on.
Dirksen back, I guess, in the mid-'90s probably, somewhere thereabouts. But I remember back then that my cousin Nelson would build in his dad's shop.
Yeah.
And we would go down there, and there's always sheds and buildings scattered all over around the outside of the shop.
He would build a lot of their shops. Emery would tell me he would build a lot of their buildings for Dirksen when they were building because he'd come home after school, and he said Nelson just really took off after that and was really good and built quickly. And then, of course, he's got a brother that was down there, and they've both all moved on. It's I feel like part of the community. Normally I feel a little bit outside, but I feel like getting to know everybody has been part of that. I remember the first time I went to Ervin's shop, he said, I build underground furniture.
You talking about Emery's shop?
Emery's shop. And he said, I build underground furniture. And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? And we go in there, and he's got like 3 or 4 caskets in there. And he had such a great sense of humor. Very talented, very kind.
He used to build cabinets.
Yeah, he was. He was huge on cabinets. Yeah, I remember that, and just a super kind guy. Certainly happy to know him and that part be part of my life. I don't know. What do you think about? Let's get back. I keep saying let's get away from it, and we keep going back to it, and that's just natural for me and you to kind of discuss, family and things like that. But you've been to even some of the events that I was doing early on with Teen Challenge and
I attended
stuff
one of
like
those
that.
events.
And
I thought that was really interesting the way that was done and everything. I really enjoyed
it's been a long time, and it's always a passion of mine, to do those things. And the Lord just has me in a different space right now. But that was always a blast and a lot of fun. And I appreciated you coming to those things and supporting them. Excuse me, goodness. Talking Shed specifically, online sales. Give me your thoughts on it. I'm gonna do maybe some rapid fire or something to get us off of the personal.
So online sales. If you're not in online sales, it'll be difficult for sales, in my opinion. That's where the market's kind of going to. If you're not necessarily set up for e-commerce work online, you need to be at least very visible online and have a way for a customer to be easily able to purchase a building, whether that means coming into a physical location or have a buy now button on your website or whatever. But online, definitely you want to be involved with anything online.
Yeah, no, that's great. Manufacturing, are you going to see automation? Is that something that you're interested in?
I am interested in that.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like there's probably going to be a little bit more of that in the future. The small businesses like ours, it's going to be a little difficult to create an automation system. You've almost got to grow large enough to make that work. So, but I do see that I feel like there's going to be more companies possibly going that route, where it's more assembly line style.
Do you think for those that want to grow into that capacity, do you see more room for acquisitions? Do you see more guys saying, I'd rather sell out, start a new adventure because I don't want to really compete with that market? Do you think we'll see any more of that over the next few years?
I would not be shocked to see some of that. How much is going to be the big question, but I would say there's going to be a little bit of that happening.
You want to sell me Summit Portable Buildings?
Well, how much you want to give me?
I'll give you everything in my wallet
the right price,
right now. Hey, I promise you, I think that we're going to see or hear more of that in the future, in the next few years. Because
if you buy it, I'll work for you. I'd have less stress. So,
well, yeah, I guess you would. Maybe I'd just be stressed out then. I'd have to have your help getting all of it figured out.
I could probably figure it out.
I find it interesting, whenever you do hear about acquisition and things like that, and how some and I'm learning more about that, and definitely interested in seriously figuring out more of that for companies. I've had a few companies that's reached out to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about selling, and you kind of get a little bit of that. I got a call today and they said, what do you think about the consultation space? And I'm like, well, I think I'm consulting without trying to. Yeah. I think I'm just, I don't view myself as the expert. I view myself as someone who might be able to get you to the expert.
You're a great connecting point for that to happen. That's where I feel like with the Shed Geek podcast, you can connect people to, like you said, acquisition.
Yeah.
That's a great place for those that are selling to, get on the Shed Geek podcast or just simply call you.
Yeah.
And say they want to sell, and I think you can find the buyers.
Well, it's honestly been a whole lot of fun just being able to stay connected, and you do earn a buck through it, and I've never sought to get rich. I've sought contentment probably more than money, because to me, Apostle Paul talks about contentment. And I don't remember who I was talking to recently, and I was even telling Brent, my audio video tech guy today, said we was on the way up here and we was talking about the John D. Rockefeller comment whenever somebody asked him, when are you going to be content, Mr. Rockefeller? And he said, when I get just a little more, and I think for me, it's been more of a battle for contentment, trying to find happiness in your career, make good money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making good money. I've never had a concern, for someone who wants to do well for their family. It takes money to get by. That's just the way it is. Keep your heart in the right place. That's fine, but still making money is there's nothing wrong with that if you're providing value. So I've struggled with that in years, because you're trying to balance that, right?
Right.
A lot of people say, well, we're not this really big shed manufacturer, and I'm like, well, maybe that means you have less stress. Maybe that means that you enjoy what you do more. Maybe their calling was to go and have this big company, and maybe they want to continue to acquire. Maybe that they still have contentment within that.
Well, I think it is important that you're content and happy with where you're at in the stage of life you are. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to think about trying to continue to grow.
Yeah.
But keeping the focus correct is probably the most challenging thing.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
But I love that Paul seeks contentment, and I guess that's just what I want to try and continue to do in my own life, whether that means I've got all the money in the world. Or I've seen that in you over the past few years. I know you say you're stressed, but I really feel like I've seen your stress level go down. I've seen your hunting trips increase with your boys on Facebook, and I've seen you really, in my opinion, turn over a new chapter in many ways, because you were very stressed whenever I was working for you.
Trying to get that thing up and running.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I'm seeing. You can make yourself really busy.
Yeah.
But you almost got to change that yourself, and that may take some time to change that. But that's the thing that I'm probably seeing. I feel like I'm young yet, but I do have a 14-year-old son as my oldest, and other boys coming on. And I see that's important to take the time with them now, because if you don't take time for them now, you wish later you would. You would have.
See, this is what's good about Shed Geek Podcast. We're not even talking about sheds again, are we?
That's right.
Why Summit? Why'd you call it Summit?
That's an interesting question. So when we were trying to come up with a name, we had all kinds of names on the list to try to look at. And I remember driving up a highway one day, and I seen a sign that said something Summit to do with some power sports or something. I don't remember exactly sure what it said, but I think it had a little bit of maybe a mountain peak or something, and I kind of like that. And so we hovered over that idea for a while and ended up going with that because we just felt like that's a fit that our business wants to grow to, grow up and become better.
Yeah.
Not just stay down on the bottom.
Find the peak of your own business
and if you look at
adventure.
our logo, that would have that peak on the top.
Very awesome.
That's kind of where we came up with that. I mean, it didn't have a real specific thing in mind except just, grow.
I even added the Summit
There you go.
portable building hat to my collection now.
Right.
Like, so we're and a T-shirt.
That's one of the first things I gave you when you were out there, right?
I'm moving on up.
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good. Well, I owe you a Shed Geek shirt and a coffee cup, so
you get a
I'll
chance.
send it back your way. I was going to ask you something. Oh, podcast. We talked about this earlier. Repurposing
Yes.
things for your podcast. Customers typically don't listen to the Shed Geek podcast, right? It's B2B, not as
Right.
much B2C. But you could repurpose what
that-
you're doing to put on
great
your
idea.
website.
Yep.
So let's say a customer does come into Summit Portable Buildings. What can they expect as they enter into, oh, there it is.
My driver's back.
There's the driver.
They put in a long day. They took a big building down to one of our locations and then moved a big building.
Okay.
So
Poplar Bluff,
Yeah, they
or-
were all the way down in Arkansas today.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they
Yeah.
just got back, a couple escort drivers. So, yeah, they put in a long day.
So what can a customer expect whenever they walk into Summit Portable Buildings? What should they expect?
A friendly staff that wants to serve their needs and sell them a good, solid Summit Portable building.
What-
And
What's the thought for Summit whenever you see somebody? Is it let's just get this sale, or is it let's help them?
I want to focus on all the good details that our buildings have, and of course, to back that up, just the experience.
Yeah.
I want it to be more than just a building. I want the experience working with Summit, our business as a whole, to be a good part of that sale.
Yeah, that's good.
But, to help our salespeople feel that same, that's what we want our salespeople to want to be friendly and interested in the customer and be sensitive to what they want, what they're interested in. Maybe they want a specific size or style, but that's our salespeople's job to help figure out what they really need. Maybe they come in here, don't know what they need, but our salespeople want to help them figure out what they need.
And where do you guys service? Like, how far do you service?
So from Farmington, Missouri, we will run 200 to 300 miles out. But we service Farmington, Missouri, Poplar Bluff, Missouri currently, down in Advance, Missouri area, Malden, Missouri area. We service over in Mulkeytown, Illinois area, Carbondale, Marion. But we go up to St. Louis too.
Yeah.
And all over the state of Missouri,
Yeah.
as far as that goes.
No, that's great. And you guys offer multiple different sheds and products here.
We do. We have a wood-sided building. We have a metal-sided building. Those are our top two sellers. We can do vinyl siding as well. We hope to eventually look at maybe some log siding style buildings. Add some new features that give some aesthetic appeal, to make it look good, dormers and stuff like that. We've done some of those, but not as much as we would like to, but we'd like to do more of that in the future.
And you're able to customize.
Yeah, we even do interior wall framing.
Yeah.
So we have a number of our customers that will have us do spray foam insulation underneath the floor, or the walls or the ceiling. We do some basic electrical packages. We can even do some wall covering like you see right here.
Yeah.
Pretty much to the point to where all you would have to do is install kitchen cabinets, bathroom, stuff that you need to live in.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of people doing that, repurposing
Yeah.
sheds for, I know in our little town, they just changed some of the whatever the building codes or whatever for our municipality, where they can get down to, I think it's a 900 square foot home. So you got shed manufacturers that are sort of licking their chops, thinking, well, where can we come in, especially with the double wides and things. You guys built some pretty big sheds. I know you go up to.
We do a 16 by 48. We have done a 16 by 50 as well, but we have done a double wide or so, and we'd like to do more of that.
The cool thing is you got the trailer to be able to do that. The steering axles, all the cool stuff. It's one of the neatest trailers that I've seen.
It does a really great job. It's got a lot of functions.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of functions,
Oh, that's great. I just appreciate you. I don't know how to say more. This podcast for me doesn't feel as much about Shed Geek Podcast as it feels about sort of a shed family, if you will, sort of. I've always held you in high regard. I hope people have been educated, but maybe more entertained today by just the friendships that exist that are possible through this industry. I told you before, you got a friend for life with me, and I'll always do all I can to be a promoter of Summit Portable Buildings, whether I'm here or not.
Appreciate that.
Always try to share your pages and things
I
like
that.
Always try to
great.
do whatever to support you guys, and I have a special place in my heart for Ervin Stutzman for picking up the phone and saying, I'm going to take a shot on that guy. That meant a lot to me. And hey, it's turned into some really cool things for me.
We appreciate you as well.
Well, thank you. You want to pray us out, pray over the industry?
Sure. Pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be together. And thank you, Lord, for friends. Thank you, Lord, for the many blessings. Thank you, Lord, for those that we work with. And we pray for all those that are working in the shed industry, that you will bless their businesses. Those that are trying to provide for their families, that you will provide for them. And just help us, Lord, that we can glorify you with our business, and that we can do things according to your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ervin.
You bet.
Had a blast.
Yeah.
Spending all day with you today. It's been fun.
Yep.
And
thanks
tomorrow.
for coming by.
Yes. All right.
Wow! Come on, groove it on. I said, baby, I know you're on a roll. Sweet honey, let's take it real.